proudest day and the proudest time in the seat of a rally car, because that day and that hour and those minutes, I got the bit between my teeth. You know, I really stood up and was counted and said, this is not getting away. I remember when we pulled on our helmets and Donald says to me, what are we doing? I said, we're going for gold, Barrett. That's all was said. I can still picture that run. That was just the best run ever.
Welcome along to Krunching Gears, the Rally Podcast, Season 3, Episode 6. Before we begin, we'd like to pass on our deepest condolences to the family of Austin Frazer, who passed away last week. Austin, what he done for rally in the 70s and 80s, it only speaks volumes for the man. He set standards that are still being put in place to this day. And I spoke to Rory Kennedy about Austin, and we recalled some of the lovely stories about the man. Austin was such a big part of Irish rallying, and nowhere, was that more prevalent than Donegal. He was the guy that laid the foundations for the Donegal rally that we know and love today. He was the first COC back in 1972.
That's right, Kevin. It's hard to believe. Way back in those years. Very sad week, obviously, with Austin passing away, and we were at his funeral there yesterday, and all his friends from way back in yesteryear, all the older drivers, and all his friends were there. I was standing back sort of a wee bit and sort of taking an overview, and it was great to see so many people there. It just goes to show the esteem and the high regard that he was held. And I, for one, obviously offer my sympathies and condolences to Dorian and Nigel and Gail and family. But anyway, it really was, as the clergyman said yesterday, it was a celebration of Austin's life, and there's some very good stories told. And Nigel Frazer gave a very good eulogy on his father, and I thought it was very touching and summed him up quite well as a family man. And then, of course, Cal Curley, CB himself, he sort of lightened the load with a very nice eulogy as well, going back to the days that they spent together, and obviously they had great success back then. But as you say, Austin was very much involved in the Donegal Rally back in its infancy, back in the years when Fonzie McAwee and Jim Callahan decided they were going to run a rally. Once they had the know-how, they had the roads and so on, and knew how to go, or didn't know quite how to go about it. So they just went straight to the top, and they went and seeked out Austin and got Austin to come along and get involved as clerk of the course. And Austin had the expertise and the know-how, and the boys, Jim Callahan and Fonzie McAwee, they were able to get behind it and do whatever had to be done on the ground. And really, Austin, the very architect of the rally, built the rally to what it is this very day. It's incredible to think that, they created that way back in 72, and what an incredible thing it's become in terms of, if you look at the economic benefits and tourism, and everybody gets the benefit. Obviously, I'm from Donegal, and I've grown up with the rally, and I've seen what it brings, and see how the town prospers and the county prospers from it. So it was an incredible achievement, and I knew Austin personally as well, obviously, and anytime I needed to know something, Austin was my go-to man, and he was very professional and always had the right answer and able to advise you in the right direction.
Yeah, because 52 years ago, Austin Frazer was still a young man. He was only in his early 30s to take on the responsibility of creating, the Donegal. And it was right from the start. They had, this was going to be an international rally. This was going to be a top class event. This wasn't just going to be another club event. This was going to be special. They had high aspirations right from the start.
Very high aspirations, and we had drivers like Russell Brooks and Nigel Rocky and all these iconic names from way back in the day used to come and do the rally. And it was great foresight and great ambition and determination to make the rally happen. And those boys they were really pioneers, really, and the rally really developed like those. The rally just got bigger and bigger all down through the years. And really it's, Austin was the cornerstone of all that in the beginning.
Because even, as early as 75, when Warmball come over to do the event, Vatman come over to do the event, guys like that, and that, it was around, it wasn't maybe one of the high coefficient, but around the European Championship for a rally that was only three or 4 years old. It would be untold, unheard of nowadays.
Well, it's something that they aspired to back then, and showed ambition. And I always say, even when I'm chatting to my own folks here at home, I say, ambition's a very powerful thing. Like, and if you apply yourself, it's amazing what can be done. And they set the standard. And a lot of rallies in Ireland back then, got a lot of advice from Donegal as well, and seen how it could be done, and they developed their own rallies. But here it's unbelievable to think, that Austin came and he put the rally together. He provided all the expertise. He was the very architect of the rally. Then he went on to compete on the rally with Billy Coleman in 1977 and won the rally in Lancia Stratus.
Yes.
That too, as well as, it's just testimony to the man. And then, of course, roll on another 10 years to 87 when him and Bertie won the rally in the Manteley. It's really an incredible story, of success, both as an organizer and as a competitor.
Yeah, and we tend to forget as well, like Bertie and Austin took time away from rallying, and 86 as well, and or 85 I should say, and then into 86 as well. And Irish rallying was in a real dark place, with insurance and one thing and another. And Donegal was the first rally back that year, and Austin and Bertie, they were there again. Let's make this thing happen. They were there as safety officer, and that was a whole new thing at that stage, and they created that. And now it's just, it's just taken as part of the event now. It's, they set the standards even then.
Yeah, for sure. And again, when you have the right people involved, like they went straight back with Bertie and Austin to come back as safety officers, and they're very responsible people and competitors that compete at a very high standard. So their feedback and their input was going to be very important. And people, obviously, people respected their opinion, and they were asked to come and do the job and did it. And that was the beginning of rallying back in Ireland again. At that time,
that's for sure.
So another incredible thing that Austin was really very much involved in. We came back at the year, just to go back to the founding year, 72, 73. I'm not quite sure which year this was, but back then rallying was very big in Ireland and the UK. And Ford used to have what they called Ford Rallyman of the Month award every month. And traditionally that was always awarded to the best driver or maybe the best co-driver and so on, month in and month out. Very prestigious award to get. But Austin Frazer won that award and putting the Donegal Rally in its place. He's the only co-driver, only organizer that had ever won it. And the Ford Rallyman of the Month back then was a very, very prestigious award to get. So again, it just goes to show what the man was capable of.
Yeah, and took the very bold decision in them early years as well, was to introduce pace notes to Irish rally. He wanted to encourage guys to come from overseas, that they would have a fair crack at the rally as well too. And that was unheard of in Ireland as well, was pace notes, and again was a game changer. And and then in '82, we'll fast forward, him and Bertie won the Ulster Rally, the first time that pace notes were used in the Ulster Rally as well too. So.
Yeah. Well, again, Austin recognized very quickly that if you're going to attract the top drivers, they have to be competing on an even keel. And so the only way to do that was have a recce period. And I remember as a child then being out on the stages and waiting to see Curly coming past on the recce, and so on, out in Trento, which is only not too far from where we used to live at that time. And the recce for the rally was a huge thing because you get this big influx of all these drivers coming in minis and Mark I escorts and Capris and all this sort of, maybe not Anglia and stuff, and the rally was it was incredible back then. It was a huge thing. It came to town.
Yeah, and then, that, and then to go ahead, then, a couple of years later, then, with the great Billy Coleman and the Lancia Stratus and won the rally, how good a feeling must that have been for him, this rally that you'd helped to create? Suddenly then you're standing on top of the ramp spraying the champagne. That must have been such a cool feeling for him too.
I'd say it was incredible for him. It was just reward really for his efforts as well, but it's an incredible, believe it or not, just as a wee note on that, James Cullen was the clerk, of course, the Donegal Rally once, and he went on then to win it twice as well. So just as we side note, no, but for Austin to do that was excellent. But I remember Austin back when he was competing with Bertie in the Mantas, and I think James McDade and me were competing on the rally, or Vincent Bonner and me were competing on the rally, and we're always, in the top 5 or whatever. And I remember Bertie was leading, and course, they went to Fanad, down to Fanad Head, and the big push was on. Everybody's very close sometimes, and Bertie's bogey stage is always Fanad. Like, and sure enough, we come down the stage, and here was Bertie sitting beached on a bloody wee ditch, you know. And we got out to the end of the stage, and I was thinking, friggin' hell, they've lost the lead, like, because they were, well, you know, slipped, weren't even off the road. They're only sitting sort of on their belly, beached on the side of the road. Eventually, they got pushed, and away they went again, and joined or caught up again. And when I saw Austin, I was devastated, thinking I've lost the lead. And Austin, he got out, and he was smiling and joking, and you know, he's that's what happens, and you know, when you push that hard, these things happen, and so on. I still remember him saying that how philosophical he was, and how professional he was. He wasn't coming out deafening and blinding and break this and break that. Like, you know, his attitude was incredible back then. I can still remember him saying or speaking to him at that time, and I'm saying that, like.
Yeah, and like we've often talked about, you know, the level of professionalism that Bertie brought to Irish rallying, and like it's well seen that, you know, that Austin was part of that as well too. He brought Irish rallying to a whole new level. Yes, in Donegal, but beyond that as well. Like he was one of the guys instrumental in the reforming of the Enniskillen Motor Club and brought that, you know, to a really good place as well. He was president of it for I don't know how many years in a row as well.
A lot of years now. But you see, the benefit Austin had was that Austin competed internationally and travelled far and wide to do rallies, you know. And simply by doing that, you know, you pick up all the things that other rallies do, you know, the positive things that you can bring back to your own rally. And there's other things you learn, of course, that don't do the rally any good, that you sort of weed out. But he had some very good ideas. And Austin's very, very nature, you know, even when you met him outside the rally and everything, he was a very pleasant man, and he was very professional in his own work, and by all accounts, the people who worked with him loved him as well, and his mannerism and the way he went about things. And he also did the same on his rallying. Like, that carried right forward into it. He was a man that never swore. He was frick and cheekers, this type of thing. Like,
yeah, because you think even the year that they lost the brakes in Galway, like,
yeah.
You know, he didn't even seem to get flustered by it at all, you know, and Bertie was, you know, weaving down between the cars and one thing and another there, and he just remained so calm, you know, and yeah, that's done, and then, you know, they interviewed him back in service, and yeah, you know, we know what the problem was, we got it fixed, and, you know, let's go again kind of thing.
Yeah, it's very, very analytical, like he assessed the thing very well, you know, and that interview, I just watched that last night, actually, of them going straight on in Galway. Unbelievable, remarkable.
Yeah.
That it wasn't a big accident there. So it was. But no, Austin again was a great spokesman and a great man, you know, to put in front of the camera to give an opinion, like, you know, and he was a great man, a great rally man. And even after he retired, I believe, he went to play golf, and he was a big part of the Loch Erin Golf Club, or the Loch Erin Golf Club. That was very evident yesterday. He has made a huge impression in the golfing world as well. When you're at the funeral yesterday, seeing the many people that were resplendent in their Loch Erin blazers and all, and the high esteem and high regard they had for him there as well. So it looked like he carried all that when he retired to the golfing.
Yeah, because Nigel said he only took up the golfing after he finished rallying. So, like, you know, in relative terms, it was a short time he was playing golf, but he rose through the ranks very quickly there as well.
Oh, very, very quickly, that's right. Oh, yeah, I'd say if he applied himself, I think Austin could have he'd be right up there, you know. But look, even as well, Kevin, back in more modern days, when Bertie was in the Gold Star Manta, or the Shell Gold Card Manta, and Jimmy McRae was in the AC Delco Manta, Russell Brooks and Andrew Seat for Hire, they all used to come, you know, to meets before the circuit and before the Ulster. And Austin was a very big player in all of that with GM Dealer Sport, you know, and planning the movement schedules and service schedules and putting it all together. And, you know, it was very much part of that on the side of the pond, if you like, for GM Dealer Sport as well. You know, when they were coming over here as a professional team, like, you know, and then huge input there as well.
And then, you know, he knew he was winding back his career and all. Like, I would say he had played a part in getting you know, in with Bertie too, because, like, with somebody with such knowledge and such professionalism, Bertie would probably seek his counsel on who would be a good man to get in the seat then as well.
Well, that's a nice thought, Kevin. I used to go to Austin about lots of stuff, you know, back then, and always valued his opinion, and he's a great man to bounce something off. So when my opportunity came anyway to replace him in the Tough Neck team, I grabbed it with both hands, I can assure you that. but I spent a lot of time with Austin before the first rally, and we talked a lot what the expectation was, and about your commitment to it and fit for the job and all that. But no, he endorsed me, which I was very proud of, and we went on. Then we won a lot of rallies, and I often used to meet him after that. I'd say, since you retired, we only started winning rallies after that.
So, as Nigel alluded to yesterday, you were one of the students of the Austin Frazer. Was it the School of Rallying? Was it?
Exactly. I would have to attest to that, right? But, a great man and a great loss, really, for rallying, and so a man who was held in huge esteem by everybody. As I say, you look at the funeral yesterday. There was even Robin Monzel was there. If you remember him, came from way back a million years ago. Like Hugh O'Brien, Cal Curley, obviously. All these older drivers.
Austin McHale,
Mervyn Johnson. That's right. And here we could go on. Freddie Patterson, and there was so many older drivers from back in the day that used to rally with Austin, and it was Brian Nelson was there too, I suppose.
That's right, yeah. And even all the Sydney Meek mechanics, it shows the high regard he was held in, that the mechanics made the journey there as well too, which was lovely.
That's right. We're all there. See, they all worked very closely with Austin through the years. And them boys don't forget anybody. Somebody like that. They learned a lot from Austin as well. I can assure you that. I certainly learned a huge amount from him.
And then whenever Bertie was turning his hand to, helping to organise an event, the Summit Rally, the go-to guy was Austin there once again. He played a huge part in that event as well.
Exactly. That's right. And that was only a one-off event. It was run once and never ran again.
And that was, that was the time, wasn't it Foot and Mouth that was here at that time, wasn't it? Or was it insurance?
No,
it was insurance. No, it was insurance.
Was the Foot and Mouth.
It was an insurance thing. That was the whole insurance. And he had Vatanen over. He had, wasn't it Waldegard? Like they had, these guys from the World Championship were brought over here, and again that was Bertie and Austin. Did that all happen as well?
Them using their connections to make that happen, and that adds great credibility to the event as well. And people come to see the event simply because them drivers are there. And there was a big do, if you remember, the night before the event. There was a big sort of a forum in Fisher Engineering, and all the drivers there to meet them. It was a huge crowd.
And again, this was them guys out there for the good of rallying. It wasn't about publicity for Bertie Fisher or Austin Frazer. This was for rallying that they were doing that.
That's right. Absolutely. Yeah. And of course, he was a great Fermanagh man, and he was very proud for Fermanagh as well. So when they brought that rally there, they made sure it was run to a very high standard.
And we can only but hope that the two guys are up there now, setting the standard up above now, keeping us up.
You can imagine Alan up there at the minute. Oh, stop! Well, it's great. It's a nice thought, as you say. No, it's a sad week really, and it's nice to remember all the good things about them, and I have very huge fond memories of Austin and different things, and I'd say I probably have some of his paperwork here if I look through some of the stuff here. So he was a great man, and it'd be a great loss. And to Dorian and Nigel and families, they're the ones that feel it most.
For sure. And I think the guy that summed it up best yesterday was Cahill Curley. He says, I knew when I was going at 10 tenths. Austin knew whenever I was going at 11 tenths, and he just put out the hand and told me just calm down a little.
That's right. Cordy has some great yarns, and he used to say as well that if he drove well on the stage, and Cal was a wild smoker back then, he would pull out the strong cigarette and give him a strong cigarette, but if it didn't go so good, he would give him a silk cut or something. Cal always knew what was the if he did a good time or a bad time.
What cigarette you got? So, Austin, you'll be greatly missed, and we hope you rest in peace. Thanks there again to Rory, and deepest condolences to Doreen, Nigel and Gail and the rest of the friends and family of Austin Frazer. Last weekend saw the start of the WRC with Rally Monte Carlo, and once again, the WRC lived up to expectation, change of leaders, frantic battles, all going down to the Sunday. Fair to say, Connor, that the new format worked reasonably well for the first time trying it.
It certainly seemed to. What do you call it? I suppose we're all a bit, with a bit of trepidation. How is this going to affect things? What's it going to do to Sunday? Will it give everybody, that extra incentive to go for it? And certainly seems to have worked. It was great. It was okay. We didn't know the final results until the end of the day to see who got the Saturday points, etc. But it certainly added to the excitement of it all.
Yeah, I look, in some ways it probably actually worked against Terry Neville. He came away with the same points as he would have last year. But, I think O'Shea actually came away with a few more points finishing second, and that seemed a bit strange too, didn't it?
It did a bit. I just want to say thanks for having me, first of all. I've made it back. I'm the official imposter of this podcast for some reason. And for those watching on YouTube, I've upgraded my webcam setup as well, so you're not staring up my nose, which is probably more pleasant. But you're right. As I say, I did a bit of math. I can't remember. I don't actually have the notes in front of me, but I do remember that certainly for OJ Evans and the likes of that behind Newville, they all scored more points than they would have done as if this rally was last year. So Newville aced it. He had 3 chances to have to score the most points. He managed all 3, but yet his lead is smaller. So what that should mean, in theory, is that the championship fight this year will be closer, which I think is something we would all love to see. And I guess it's one of the things we were expecting this year anyway, with Mr. Robin Perrin to go part-time. But yeah, I'm with Connor on this one as well. I think we were all a bit nervous to see how this would work. I think it's possibly too early to declare it a success. We've not got anywhere near a large enough sample set, and this rally, the way it was set up after Saturday, was close anyway. So I think regardless, it could have been an interesting finish, but I don't think it was as confusing as people were fearing, put it that way. So yeah, onwards and upwards. We'll be curious to see how it works in a few weeks in Sweden as well.
And look, to compliment you there, you had put a post up after the rally showing the difference in the points, and just what do you call it, between Neville and OJ, there's a 6 points difference versus an 8 points difference, based on this year and last year's system. So I mean, it's making it a closer fight.
Well, there you go. That's exactly what we want, isn't it? I guess OJ is a funny one because he effectively doesn't matter, does he, in terms of, but yeah, as I say, I'm sure Evans got 21. If I don't know how many points he got in power stage, is going to confuse me, but he couldn't have got 21. No, he couldn't. If he was third in the rally, he couldn't have got 21 last year. So yeah, the guys that aren't winning have more of an opportunity now to sort of lessen the deficit to the championship leader. So yeah, by proxy, that should mean we have a closer fight, which is, as I say, great news. Really, is what we always want.
And again, sorry, Kevin, I'm jumping in again on you, but that closer fight just on the Sunday piece alone. So OJ finished third on the Sunday, and Tannock was fourth, and there was a difference of 0.1 of a second between them, which meant the difference that determined the difference in 1 point as well. So if this championship comes down to a point difference, of Tannock winning or coming second, or that could have been decided by 0.1 of a second.
This is it. There's so many ways now that things can be won. But what's interesting is I didn't know that, which is, first of all, cool, but secondly, I don't know if it worries me, but again, I watched the power stage. I wasn't paying as close attention as I have done in the past because I wasn't working the weekend for once, which is strange to me. But I wonder if there's a way, maybe, because I did see this come up a few times online, that people were saying that they sort of understood the concept, but it maybe wasn't shown in the clearest way. There wasn't like a separate graphic or anything, which maybe feels like a bit of a missed opportunity. If you've got this thing, you might as well shout about it. Like that's, and I know when a rally's getting wrapped up, we care about who's won, not that 0.1 of a second has split some Sunday points. But it would have been good to know that and see that and have a visual representation of here is the Sunday classification, because as far as I understand, they didn't do that. But that's a simple fix. That's just a case of some graphics, isn't it? So I would say that's definitely not a concern. But interesting. I like that. That's how close it is between them all, isn't it? Which is great to see.
For sure. And like Elfyn Evans, we talked about his sublime performance in Japan, seemed to carry it into Monte Carlo, and then, there's hybrid issues seemed to just knock the one out of his sails. So unfortunate, because he had a great Friday and Saturday morning.
Yeah, rally of two halves, which sounds incredibly cliche, so I apologise for that. We can put a euro in the little swear jar for that. But yeah, brilliant start, I have to say. I don't want to go as far as say I was surprised by it, but I was certainly impressed by the momentum he carried on from Japan and the start he made. Yes, I guess he was potentially in the best place on the road, but he made full use of that.
Mm-hmm.
He was quick as of both stages, took the lead, held that through Friday, even though he didn't win a stage. But I think it was Saturday afternoon, wasn't it, that was particularly damaging. Like he lost a lot of time in those few stages, and that will. Well, I've no doubt that'll be some head scratching and analysis to work out where that time was going, but it seemed to be that in the second pass conditioning, when the road wasn't as clean, he wasn't quite as comfortable. Whether that's a wider thing, whether it's just a specific Monte setup, I don't think he had a particularly difficult test in terms of road conditions. I think his road was quite dry, so that obviously counts against him. You have so little testing time now that whatever you hold yourself in for, you can perfect that. But when it gets tricky, you might not have the right car underneath you. And he responded on the Sunday to be second fastest, didn't he, behind Thierry? So it was by no means a bad weekend for him. I guess if you look at the context, if he was leading, he'll be disappointed. But I think third and Monte, a podium of Monte is always a great way to start the year. What you don't want to be doing, and Evans knows this because he's been here a couple of years ago, is leave the event empty-handed. It just puts you on the back foot immediately in the championship. And yes, he's lost a little bit of ground to Neuville, but Neuville has to now open the road in Sweden. So it all works out, doesn't it?
Sure.
So yeah, no, I would say it was a good start for Elvin in what should be a very exciting year for him. Given he's sort of carrying the torch alone against the two charging Hyundais, but yeah, solid start.
And Connor, Ogier got into the lead then whenever Evans had his trouble, and we thought, here goes the man from Gap's going to start, the steamroller's going to start to roll, but Neville wasn't going to give it to him handy.
No, he wasn't, and he certainly didn't. And two things I want to come back to there on Elvin. Elvin had a few issues with a hybrid on Saturday, and you kind of wonder with Ogier getting ahead, but did he play it safe? Could he see where it was going and thought, well, look, there's no point in putting this championship on the line here with Ogier's only going to be part-time. So, maybe he could take the third place. With regard to Ogier, his head wasn't fully in the game. He'd lost his uncle just before the event. And certainly wasn't the Sebastian Ogier we're all used to on Monte Carlo and Neville. Pretty much a dry tarmac rally. We know Neville's good and quick. So Ogier's quick as well in tarmac, but everything just seemed to align nicely for Neville. He seemed extremely relaxed. We were all wondering, would he come to Monte with the pressure of Tanak being a teammate? And that doesn't seem to have phased him at all this time around.
I could like to hear him coming out with, perfection, things, words like that there. So unlike Neville, he's always seems to be just never quite, just everyone's just not quite right. To hear him saying things like that there is like a breath of fresh air. And if this continues, look, he's going to be hard to live with this year.
Yeah, I've done another podcast this week, and I got myself a little bit overexcited potentially about what this means. It is round 1 of 13, and it is a rally Thierry's done well at. But to me, this was huge, like a massive performance, a huge statement. I think has been delivered here because you're right. Thierry's we know how good he is, particularly on these kind of events, but he's never. Certainly not in the Rally 1 car, but I'm struggling to think of a time kind of ever, really, where he's looked just this comfortable and happy with. There's always something not quite right that needs to perfect, but here it looked effortless. It was proper swashbuckling stuff. Like we've talked about OJ, and I have to say, I think to finish second, given what was going on, is remarkable achievement. I really do think that's incredible because it'd be so easy and so understandable to have not bothered taking the start, but to put all that behind you and still produce the goods. Yes, it wasn't quite the dream 10th win, but I think that was an incredible achievement, and it goes without saying we wish Seb and his family all the best. But yeah, with Thierry, I get the feeling that nobody was beating him. Even an OJ on song would have struggled to beat that kind of Thierry. He looked like he woke up and said, "Nope, this is mine. I'm having this." Yeah, really, really impressive performance. But as you say, we'll have to see whether it continues, because I guess the question mark with Thierry has always been, at least, and I know it probably happens to most drivers over the course of a season, but there's usually one or two mistakes that feel kind of avoidable with Neuville in the past. So whether he's ironed that out is the question we'll have to see. But on that kind of form, yeah, I agree. This was a a very well timed performance. As Connor said, we're all talking about Tanak coming in, and then Newville goes and does that.
And sorry, go ahead, Connor.
No, I was going to just come in with a point, not to take away from Neville's drive at all, because, bar one incident where the car went light at the rear and spun on a corner, he seemed to have a perfect drive. But last year, Lappy joined the team, and Lappy discovered something in setup changes that they made in testing, and that made a difference in the Hyundai over the second half of the WRC last year. This year, they've come in with completely new suspension setup and a new suspension supplier, and the suspension always was the weakness in the Hyundai setup. And I wonder, is that also been the extra missing piece from the jigsaw that's putting it all together for Neville this year?
Yeah, hopefully, yeah. So it's interesting just to see how this could be the key.
I think it's a very good point. I think the car definitely, something changed in him, hadn't it? Like he looked happier, by virtue quicker. So yeah, I think the car definitely had an impact. I think that's the only thing that maybe Hyundai is missing now. It's got this brilliant team leader, this amazing roster of drivers, this fantastic technical brain, but I think if push come to shove, if all of us three were asked, well, we take anything to be but if I wanted to try and win and go fast over a rally stage, probably 9 times out of 10 you at this stage are probably going to take the Yaris. So I think that's the only weakness. But I would say if there is a weakness, it's not a big gap at all, is it? That Hyundai is getting good, which I imagine is worrying a few of those in Vascular right now, to be fair.
For sure. And Tanak, he had his issues on Friday morning, but strong performance by him too. First time back in the Hyundai, Connor. It looks promising for Tanak now as the year going to progress, I think.
I think it does. I think it was a sensible drive by Tanak. He wasn't trying to put it all on the line. Monte's somewhere that hasn't favoured him over the last few years either. He's had, different issues or bad luck on the Monte. I think it was a good drive to get settled in. He's taken 4th place. And again, really, one of those people ahead of him is OJ, who's on a part-time, so he can kind of rule OJ out to a certain extent, possibly, in the championship fight. So I think it was a solid drive by Tanak. He's bedding himself in, seemed happy, seemed contented when being interviewed. And, we've seen him in the past where he can be a bit surly and, sarky or one-word answers to the questions, but he didn't seem to have any issues or anything to be troubling him with returning to the team. So I think it looks good.
And look, I think one of the standout drives from the weekend was Adrian Formeau and the Puma. I can't think of anything major he done over the weekend. He had a very clean rally and seemed to be driving well within himself as well.
Yeah, I'll caveat this with the same thing I said about Newville, and it's round 1 of 13, so I don't want to make a sweeping statement and say, yes, he's answered the big question that we all had about him, but based on this evidence, yes, he has. I think everybody knows and saw that last year he seemed a more composed driver, but it's, dare I say, easier to do that in WRC 2, Rally 2, slightly less pressure, and obviously not quite as fast car as Rally 1. So this was the big question, was could he then translate that newfound sort of form into the big class? I was quite hopeful and sure that he would, and as you say, he did exactly what he needed to do in Monte. The thing that impressed me most is he sort of let slip on Saturday that he'd effectively been asked just to not go crazy, just to keep what he had, and that's discipline, isn't it? And I think that's the one thing he was maybe missing 2 years ago when he had that pretty difficult season. So yeah, strong pace, nothing like earth shattering, but nobody was expecting that. He did the job. It's a great foundation to build on. So I think within the M Sport camp now, I think there'll be some decent positivity, because Munster as well, as much as he was unfortunate to not quite make it through all the stages, the mistake he made was minor as anything. He was punished very heavily for that. Yeah. He himself had a 3rd fastest time. So it's a different ballgame, obviously, to last year. They're not in the race for the Drivers' Championship, but I think in a way that's probably better for a lot of the... Certainly from a team atmosphere perspective, I can imagine it's probably an easier place to be right now, because almost everything you achieve is a bonus now. Yeah. Everyone is expecting Hyundai and Toyota to fight for the championship. So anything M Sport can do to get in there amongst the silverware, I think will be pleasing and seen as a good result, rather than when it was Tanak, who everyone expected to be drivers champion. If he finishes second, it's like, why aren't you first? Whereas now the script has flipped. So from a psychological perspective, I can imagine that's quite a nice thing for the boys and girls there at the minute.
And then Takamoto then, went off the road on Friday morning, but it was a difficult bend. There's a few other guys had issues at the same corner. But he set some strong pace over the weekend too. So again, we'll not read too much into it, but it's coming off the back of Japan into that, two reasonably positive, maybe not results, but drives.
Yeah, I think it's difficult to read into Taka's result in Monte because you're right. I think he paid a very heavy price for his mistake because two others made it, but Taka came off worse. But as you say, from then on, he identified that his best chance that weekend was to prioritize Sunday because of the extra points he'd then get for going quickly through there, which worked out for him. He did very well on the power stage in particular. So yeah, I think a solid weekend. He got through without any major mishaps. I think Sweden's now going to be a very interesting rally for him because we know how good he can be on the faster stuff. So yeah, he's laid himself a good foundation, I think.
You're gonna,
I was going to say, look, there's nothing worse than doing the what if. But, Taka lost about 5 minutes. And if you took the 5 minutes off where he finished, so he finished up in 7th place, that would have put him in 5th behind Tanak, which is where he would have been aiming for anyway. So he would have been doing well to get higher than that. So, unfortunate. And, hopefully he has better luck. But, a good solid drive, bar the issue of being stuck in the ice, being beached.
And the video footage and all from Thursday night, going up the side of the mountain and the flares and the fireworks and all, like it was like a throwback to the Group B days, Connor. It was spectacular.
It was funny, and I was watching it with my son, and his reaction. He's 14. He said, "Oh, that's just like Portugal in the old days." When you had people leaning over the barriers and stuff. So yeah, it was just bringing you back to memories of people trying to touch the cars and just nuts with the fireworks going off. Some fabulous footage out of that.
Yeah, look, that will showcase rallying to such a wider audience there as well.
Well, that's it. This is the thing. I think it proves nothing else that rallying still has a big fan base as well, doesn't it? There was nobody would turn and look at that and think, "Wow, there's no one there." It was incredible. But yeah, it's one of those where I just really wish I was in among it. Like it's most days, I'll be honest, I'll look at professional co-drivers and drivers and think, I wish I was you. But I looked at James Fulton's Instagram story and I saw him there and I was like, you lucky swine. I was like, I don't know what I'd do to be you right now. But yeah, it looked utterly incredible. The still imagery in particular from that is nuts. I know YouTube both appreciate. So we need to get you there one day. And
definitely. For sure.
Kevin, do you think we can recreate that on Mall's Gap when the WRC comes here?
We can but hope. We can but hope. And then, look, the WRC2 battle, we're hearing all these stories and rumours that, next year they're looking at maybe going down the Rally 2 route. But, what a battle. 3 guys get into the last stage, less than 6 seconds covering them. That's some rallying.
Crazy. The funny thing for me is if you looked at it out of context and purely saw the result and you think, oh, Johan Rossell won the rally, it's like, okay, that's to be expected. But the way he did it was nuts because... He was never, this is the thing, he was never far off that lead fight between his teammate Greisen and Pepe Lopez in the Skoda, but he was always like lurking. He was never the one we were focusing on because Greisen and Lopez were the ones that were constantly trading the lead back and forth. But I don't know what he had for breakfast on Sunday morning, but something gave him the go-go, didn't it? He was off, and it was, quite a special way to win. I have to say, in these scenarios, it's the classic, you happy for the winner, but you feel for the loser. It was really hard on Lopez, who'd done very, very well. But on that kind of performance, and you have to assume a WRC2 win will come for him quite soon. But yeah, you're right. As always, it's a class that keeps delivering entertaining rallies for us all. Yeah,
and Connor, then a wee bit closer to home, our own Eamon Boland and MJ McMorrissey claimed the Masters title as well too. Great to see, and just no bother.
Absolutely. Listen, come here, Eamon and MJ. Just look, it's always fabulous seeing them out, and they, came home another decent result, 24th overall. Fantastic, and having switched back to the Fiesta, having competed in the C3 there for the last few events as well. So fantastic drive for them, and great. I think, did MJ leave the trophy behind or something? Did I hear?
No, it has it in the service truck coming.
Grand.
So he'll get it in a week or two. So that that kind of wraps up our Monte Carlo look back. But we'll catch up now. I think we'll start talking about Galway, and we start the Tarmac Championship. a few short months since we were last in the Ulster Day, I suppose was the last round of the championship. Unbelievable that we're ready to go again. And Conor, what a lineup there's going to be.
Oh, fantastic. Listen, we finished the Ulster watching Adrian Formeau. And now we're going to start Galway with Matt Edwards, with Keith Cronin, with, we're going to call it Josh, and Callum and the usual crews. Like, it's just phenomenal, the entry that rally has attracted.
Mm-hmm. It really is. Like, look, this is, with bar, Marion Evans is not back this year, or Ali Fisher, but that's a strong lineup. There's not many guys missing that you expect to be there.
Yeah, you're right. I think you've named the only two that you maybe would think could potentially be there that aren't. But it's not. You've got all the usual suspects. But I think the addition of Cronin, I guess in particular, really intrigues me. And it's not to decry the entry of Matt Edwards, because we know how exciting that is. But we've sort of seen Matt show his hand in Ireland recently. Mm-hmm. Keith, it feels weird to say he's an unknown, because it feels really harsh to a driver as accomplished as him. But he hasn't done anything in Ireland for a long time now. Yeah. So I'm really intrigued to see where he fits in. He's not driven since the Jim Clark back in May. So he's obviously at a bit of a disadvantage there, but this has always been the case with Keith, and he always shows up and is very, very quick. So I'm really excited to see that it looks like he's committing to a full season as well. I think that they were very excited to say that my press release from there landed about 6 times in my inbox today, so they're very keen to tell the world that was going on. But it's great to see, isn't it? And I think very interesting again, the number of Fiestas that we've got in the mix, both Matt and Keith in them, probably makes sense given how far the car came on last year. Obviously, the other exciting news and very intriguing news is Josh Moffat in the Citroen as well. How quickly you can get on top of that car, I imagine will be quite key. I did see someone that was maybe considering the Hyundai, but thought, well, if I'm going to get used to this car, drive this car, I better get used to it now. Like he could have maybe been quicker in Galway, but longer term, it's a safer, more sensible bet to drive that car. And very interesting. And obviously Callum starting as reigning champion once again, back with Noel in the polo. You can't call it, can you? Which is the best. It's the best you can say about any rally at this stage. Is you have no idea. Anyone in that top 10 could win it. Genuinely anybody. So
you have to say Callum, starting with the same car, same team, possibly slightly the favourites tag, but as you say, Cronin, like 2016, I think is the last time he rallied in Ireland. Well, the Tarmac Championship anyway. So what's he going to bring? Edwards. How quickly will Josh settle in? Sam, if he led Galway early last year too, so, and there's so many other guys, Desi Henry, Johnny Greer. It's just, it's going to be something else. And the new C3 trophy as well. That's, great to see manufacturers getting involved in the sport now as well too, Conor.
Oh, it is. Like, we've been missing that for a while, to have a championship within a championship. So it is good to see, it's, we all love a one make series, and I know this isn't it, but it's nice that the Citroen are getting behind this and what do you call it, Race and Rally, or have organised this Stellantis Cup.
And like the money involved in, the C3 trophy in particular, it's decent wage cash you get for one. If you won the C3 trophy, you don't even have to win the rally as long as you're the first Citroen home. It's a nice lift at the end of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Conor.
No, look, please go ahead.
Completely not to be sniffed at, is it? I think it's one of the things that people, that if somebody doesn't understand rallying, one of the things they're always confused at is the fact there is no prize money in it. What you take home is it's just a pot, isn't it? Effectively, obviously it's great, it's historical, and whoever wins it is delighted with it. But it's not. You know what I mean? But it's a rare thing, particularly nowadays, to have that. So, just to reiterate, massive kudos, I think, to everybody who's organised, particularly Raymond Moore at Race and Rally. It's because it's not just this; they've got the Stellantis Cup with the 208s and the Corsas as well across Ireland and the UK. So, what they're doing this year, I think, is genuinely game changing, and I think we'll notice a lot more people in those cars, which is exactly the point from manufacturer's perspective, isn't it? It's the whole idea is it works for everyone. The drivers get something out of it, but the manufacturers way more of their cars out competing, which is great for them, for selling more of them, marketing, everything else. So it's a complete win-win situation. I have to say, I never thought the day would come back that we get it. So it is great to see it.
Yeah, it's been so long. I'm myself and Conor is old enough to remember, the 205s, 309s, the Evo Cup, all those different, and they were what bred world champions, the Colin McRae, Richard Burns come up through, the Peugeot Cups and all that then too. And Chris Meek, Ryan Champion, the names go on and on and on.
I know they absolutely do, and Mark Fisher, another person that was doing very well in the Peugeot Cup as well, and could have gone on to good things. So they do really help bring the club men and give them that lift and bring them on in the competition.
Yeah, I think without further ado, we'll catch up with Kevin O'Driscoll, who is the press officer for the Galway Rally. Kevin, it's unbelievable. We're in Rally Week already. Galway, it was only a matter of hours away now at this stage. The Motor Club has pulled together a top-class entry once again.
Yeah, it is. It's impressive, all right. Galway has probably a tradition of, while it might be numerically the strongest, it does seem to pull in at the start of the year. It does seem to pull in a lot of top quality, and this year now is no exception. It's some real, I suppose, intriguing battles in store for us, I think, in terms of who's there and the impact they'll make, and even some guys probably further down the field that could be seated a little bit higher, but it should be a good battle there now. I think I'm looking forward to it. Galway is always good as a winter rally; it's unpredictable. So yeah, let's see how it pans out.
Yeah, because we've all seen in the past, the Weller gods can play games with Galway as well too, and it makes tyre selection such a lottery at times as well.
It does. Just looking at the long-term forecast, actually, it seems fairly benign this year. It's relatively dry, I think, and not even that windy. But now the territory they're going back to this year for the first time in 10 or 12 years is quite flat and quite open. So there's much room for shelter. No shelter if you were caught in a rainstorm. But they're nice stages. They haven't been used since around 2012, I think, 11 or 12. But yeah, they're being fairly well received now by the locals. To be fair, up there, the residents, for the most part, are pretty happy to have it back there after that length of time. They're good. They're good tests. They're good stages. So as I said, should be a good event now. As I said, it's nice to have a bit of a change now again after the last couple of years.
Yeah, and going back to territory that hasn't been used in about 10 years, that's good for everybody, because sometimes we've seen in other rallies, familiarity, it's not always a great thing, and it's good for the likes of Matt Edwards and Keith Cronin, who are returning. Keith's returning to the championship, and it puts everybody in an even keel to start the championship off.
It does, yeah, it does. It's a bit of a leveler and all right. As I said, nobody can say they're overly familiar with the stages, and that's a good thing in itself. It is. I mean, if you look down through the list there, I mean, there's obviously several former winners. You have Josh, you have Keith, you have Declan Boyle, obviously you have Garrett and Austin down further as well. So they're all previous winners. And then, you also the likes of Matt Edwards and these guys who are winners elsewhere. And, I mean, if I was to pick, I won't even pick a winner out of it, but if you were to pick a grouping, I think that's from the off, and I'd love to be proved wrong. I have seen an outsider in there, but you can't really look further than Callum, who's probably the most settled in his car. Yeah. Obviously Keith and Matt in their Fiestas, and then obviously Josh switching to a Citroen. So, it'll change dynamic a little bit. You'd feel that Callum might have the edge starting off because of
familiarity
knowledge with that car. Yeah, I know Matt had been pretty quick in a Fiesta when he's had one in the past. But as I said, like that, I guess Galway is fairly unforgiving with those stone walls and just plenty them up in the Headford area. So it'll be interesting to see how, like last year, Sam got off to the quickest start. And okay, he didn't win it, but he was still out thereabouts after a bit of a layoff. But, some drivers, do like the Galway terrain, and it suits them. And, regardless of the fact that it's slippy, but I think now they'll be the four that'll be there. And I know, as I said, I'd love to see one or two more break into, like Desi do a change of luck without doubt. And I think slippy conditions probably in theory should suit him, because he's forestry and all that kind of stuff as well. He should be more used to that. But I think he's somebody who needs a bit of a break as well. I think if he gets a good run, he could go well as well. But anyone in the top 10, 12, even down further down, if you look outside the top 20, like you're looking at like Gary Kiernan, who's excelled in the R5 before. You also have Eddie Doherty making the switch. You've Tommy Doyle, who won't be slow. You've Ryan Caldwell there, among others. So there's serious quality there. There's guys down the field. David Kelly, David Kelly is there at the pole. I'd be interested to see how he goes in that. So, obviously we're Gary and Jess Mitchell on starting from the top 20. So, but everyone else is there as of now, and should be a good battle. Looking forward to seeing, I suppose, how the guys in newer cars, or the guys that maybe wouldn't have much RC2 experience, will shape up when the when the top guys go at it. Because, like as I said, Keith has won the rally before, but it was in the Subaru. He was very closer than most, I suppose, in 16 when he won the championship. And Gary Jennings was the world car. He was the best of the rest in the R5s at that time. So the Keith won't be slow, So no, I think it's set up for a really good battle, and looking forward to it.
For sure, and I think the thing that really will intrigue me is how will Josh settle into the Citroen. If he finds a sweet spot in that Citroen quickly, he's not going to be far away. We see how he had that Hyundai, he just knew instinctively how it was going to react and what it was going to do. If he can get to that sweet spot in the Citroen, he's going to be up there too.
Oh, I think so. I think the Citroen, Josh was also driving an older version car as well for a long time, bar the time he switched over last year for a little while. The Citroen is a superior car, obviously, to the first Hyundai anyway. And if you look at those who have switched to the Citroens, well, they might always have, been winning, but it's made them instantly almost competitive. If you look at, yes, he's probably the one who hasn't had as much experience in that car as look in that car yet. Johnny obviously has been really quick since he switched over to it. Cal McWorth was very quick in the Citroen last year. Robert Barrable was very quick in the Citroen. So I think it won't take long for Josh to settle in. I think if he does, he'll definitely put it up to the rest. If he gets the reliability off, and as you said, find a sweet spot, I think he'll be thereabouts. Josh is a serious competitor, and you can't rule him out.
Yeah, and another name you mentioned there too, like Austin McHale. What can we say? The man's an Irish rally legend, and making his return to Galway in the family-focused WRC car, we don't expect him to be up at the sharp end, but the old competitive spirit and the heckles get up. It's brilliant to see him back.
It's fantastic, and look, you said you mightn't expect to see him in the top end, but Austin himself fancies himself for the top end. He told me he fully expects to be running in the top 10. That's his aim. And the old competitive edge will never go, so that's good. He hadn't rallied competitively in 15 years, but like I said, it'll be interesting to see how he goes. And obviously Brian is match fit because he's been out the last couple of years anyway with Garrett. So look, I think he'll get out there and he'll enjoy it. So who knows, if it goes well, he might see him out a little bit more. You never know. It's great to see him back. He's the one who's won Galway more than anybody else 6 times. So it would be nice to see him put up a strong showing again this weekend. And even just to have him out, I think it's just fantastic. And just have him out in an iconic car as well. I think it's brilliant, So it'll be interesting to see him because obviously the categories aren't split anymore with the results. You can see exactly where he's standing at any one time now. So I don't think Galway's always been a good event for him, and I think he'll tip away. He'll do fine. He'll as I said, he has that competitive streak that won't go from him, so he'll give it his best.
No, he was one of the most fearsome, characters. Whenever him and Fisher or him and Nesbitt went head to head, he was never the first one to blink. No,
he just had that refusal, I suppose, to give in. The stubbornness, and that's what you need to have at that level, and that's why he was so successful. Just a serious competitor. That's what he was, all the way through from his initial battles with Billy Coleman right through to, as you said, to Bertie Fisher and, with James Cullen, with Andrew Nesbitt, with everyone, Eugene Donnelly. I mean, he was still leading Galway up to 2004, in rallies, because it is, he did say it's his favourite event, his favourite roads, club, the whole lot. He likes everything about it. And, I think it's probably a good one. If he is planning to do a couple of rallies this year, this is definitely probably the one he would choose to come back and make a return on, so.
Yeah, brilliant to see. And then in the modified section, it's going to be a strong there too. We have, last year's champion is Alcorn back out again, and everybody scoffed and says, "Oh, Psycho will never last the distance," and Galway, it's not the rally for him. And himself and John O'Donnell had a fantastic rally last year. And such a controlled and smooth rally, and the car come back, not a mark on it.
Yeah, he did really well last year actually, and he probably did open a few eyes all right with the performance he had in, and look again like that this year. He hasn't been out massively since, but he's never slow. No matter what happens, he's never slow. He'll have a good battle, I think, with Kevin Eves again. Kevin is obviously a great competitor as well. It'll probably, you'd imagine, it will come down. If they don't have any mechanical mishaps or anything like that, it'll be between the two of them. Conor Murphy won't be a million miles away either. Frank is Frank. Frank will always be there or thereabouts as well. Rodney Wilton. I don't know if Rodney's done much Galway. We hadn't done much rallying in the last number of years, but he has done Galway in the past, but not for a good number of years now. And then obviously the 2 litre classes, you like John Warren and Brian Lavelle had a great battle last year as well. So it'll be very interesting to see how they'll get on.
I think is this Frank Kelly's first time doing Galway as well? He's done the summer stages, but I don't
possibly, someone mentioned that to me lately. I thought he had. I had it in my head that he had, but it could well be. I again, you'd imagine for somebody with forestry experience and CP roads would probably, be to his liking. I thought he had done it years ago, but if he has, it hasn't been for a long, long time. But it's quite possible he hasn't done it before. So.
Yeah. So and we've spoke to Declan Casey about the historics. Like that championship is going from strength to strength. 19 starters in the historics. It's a spectacularly well received championship.
Yeah, there was 16 started last year in historics, and there's 19 this year. And the other interesting thing with the historics was all those 19 entries came in the first 2 weeks after opening, and they're still there, the whole lot of them. So they're great to commit. When they go in, they go, and that's it. Very interesting to see how it'll go. I'm really curious to see how Trevor Wilson will get on in the BMW.
Yeah.
He switched to the Escort last year, and he was just phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. He's more power under this year, so he could even be even more dangerous. But and obviously Marion drove very well last year too. So there'll be a few guys there that'll I suppose if I was to pick one out there, I would probably say probably Marion. But if Trevor gets a good clean run, who knows? And just guys like Duncan and all these behind him as well, that'll make it difficult for them. Ross Ford, guys like that, they're all quick as well. There's Tom Clark. There's guys that are really, really quick. But I'm just definitely the one that's catching. And John O'Donnell obviously is out as well in M3 as well. So Will Graham, there's a few guys there now that should be quite interesting to see. But I think that definitely is one that caught my eyes. One that is just Trevor going into the M3 because
I spoke to Trevor a few weeks ago, and he said he left-hand drive was going to be a wee bit of an issue, but he had a left-hand drive road car since round about Christmas time. So this is the seriousness these guys take it, that they're already driving to get used to the left-hand drive. So even in the historics, they're giving it everything.
Yeah, I'll give it everything. Yeah, that could be a disadvantage if he had much experience in it, but if the car those cars are good, and when they work right, they work really, really well. So it'll be very interesting to see how they go. Like Donna had a superb run in the historic lakes in it, and as I said, Trevor was really, really quick last year when he made the switch from the Porsche to the Escort, a car that he wouldn't have been particularly familiar with, and it was when he took 2 rounds in the championship afterwards. So I think it'll be a good one now. I'm looking forward to that battle as well. And as always, and of course Ray is in the Subaru. Ray won't be a million miles away either. He's seriously competitive as well. So
and then the other name too you mentioned there, John O'Donnell. John, can tend to be very quick, and whenever he finds his groove too, he'll not be far away either.
Yeah, and I think that I suppose I probably have a distrust. I love the cars, but I have a distrust of the M3s. I just think that you can get them; they're brilliant when you get them working right, but they are a difficult car to get working right. I think Donna's car in Killarney was probably as well prepped and as well sounding as any M3 in many, many years. I think if you can get the car to that level of reliability, then to be honest, there's nothing really that should live with it. Obviously, even in wet roads, a Legacy may do all right, but other than that, an Escort shouldn't. So but the problem again like that is the reliability of them. There aren't that many of them out there, so they're probably not the easiest to tame either in wet conditions. But at the same time, it's still great to see them out there because they are one of my favorite all-time cars.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because we're both of an age. We remember them back in the day, and whenever McHale and Fisher and was that they just were almost a throwback to a few years before it, the Group B stuff, the rear wheel drive, the noise. It's just there was something about them, put the hairs up in the back of your neck.
Yeah, there was a great. There was a real. I suppose monstrous sound of them. They're a bit like their typical German car, like the Porsches. They were another car. They're iconic. Same thing. They just had that distinct sound out of them, and I think it adds to the whole racing feel of it when you listen to them at a distance. So I think interesting to see how they go now, and it's great to see them out there. Yeah, Eugene Megan is obviously there as well in a modern version, and M1 as well in the modifieds to make a return as well. So again, he'll be another guy who'll probably be challenging the modified men as well. You can't rule him out either.
Yeah, for sure. And then the juniors are making the back again this year too, and again that championship was it was maybe hadn't huge numbers last year, but very competitive.
It was competitive. You were, I think, 3 or 4 drivers in with a shout going to the last round or second last round or something like that. Now, like last year, there's only 8 drivers entered, and top seeds are Jason Gorham and Liam Egan, their Galway crew. So they'll probably, this is rolling. I think this is Jason's 3rd time actually doing the event. So he probably would have more experience than most. Keane Hines and Carl Fallon, another Galway crew there. Barry McIntyre did the junior championship last year. Other guys like Ronan Dorian, Patrick Doherty, Dylan Sheehan, Jason Wilkinson, Owen Kelly. Don't know much about those, but I'm sure we'll know about them after the weekend. We'll know where they'll slot in when it comes to the junior championship and how they shake out.
Yeah, and another class then too. The start of this. Well, there's going to be the Rally 4 cars, but a lot of them's going down the 208 route. Now, there's some still sticking with their Fiestas and whatever as well. But this Stellantis Cup is going to be very interesting too, just to see how it, I think it's going to be, as the season progresses and more guys get involved in it, I think this could be a game changer for Irish and British rallying, because they're doing some rounds of the BRC as well.
That's right, yeah, it's very interesting. And I think there was like 13 or 14 Rally 4 cars entered actually in Galway. That was the last check I've done. Yeah, it is interesting, and obviously with the prize fund and everything that's up there, it's obviously very, very. It's a good incentive. It's a great incentive actually. So I think it's probably overdue, I suppose, really. But yeah, it's interesting to see that most of the top or Rally 4 guys there are in Peugeots actually, like Keelan Grogan, Jack Brennan, Casey J. Coleman. Aoife Raftery is there as well. Ryan McHugh is like the outlaw of the first 4 or 5 there with the Fiesta. But like that, there's loads of guys there that have a chance. Keane Caldwell is there, Joseph Kelly. Like there's lots of guys there. And look, there could be a guy come in Rally 4 that wouldn't have gone under the radar before. Something could shake up the whole thing as well. But there is quite a bit of experience in the first 5 or 6 I mentioned there, in that they've done Rally 4 rallying already, and that does, I think you do. Callum Devine proved that years ago. You need a year or 2 of those cars anyway, just to kind of get yourself up to a real consistent speed. So anybody who's done a year or 2 already will probably have that bit of an advantage, I think.
And we keep beating the drum about the MI Rally Academy, but we are like blessed by the depth of young talent coming through. It's not 2 or 3 guys coming through, and girls as well too. Aoife is setting a phenomenal pace, but there's probably 7, 8, maybe 9 guys coming there to Galway that think that they're going to be in with a chance of winning the rally.
Yeah, there's a bit of a conveyor belt as well, and obviously, like, you can see the fruits of it with the likes of William Crichton's results in the last 12 months or last couple of years, even for that matter. It's great to see. So yeah, it's great. It's giving them a stepping stone to experience, I suppose, and if they're good up, they'll make it from that. But at least they're being given the opportunity to do it. That a lot of other countries probably don't give their drivers that opportunity, and I think it's interesting, and it's certainly a fantastic experience for our drivers. You even see it from William when he was doing the Rally 3 car in West Cork, for example. When I would have seen him the last couple of years, and the style of driving and everything is just phenomenal. Just watching him, that he's been abroad. It's like when Alistair came back and Keith came back as well after their times away. That their lines and their way of taking things, just great, crazy, like brilliant to watch.
Yeah. And that drip fed right down through. Then other guys seen what Keith was doing, they seen what Ali was doing, whatever, and it made them push on as well. So I think it really does benefit everybody.
Yeah, it did exactly. And look, I think if it's like Craig as well. If once somebody has a role model there, that's what they want to aspire to, and that's what they'll aim to do. Try and get near. And it's not everyone makes it, but look, if these guys get the chance to try it, more luck to them.
Yeah, for sure. And then the Galway Rally kicks off Friday evening, ceremonial start, and like anybody that's never been to Ayr Square for the ceremonial start, like it's one of those must-do things. Like there's just something very raw about a Friday evening, Galway City, in the middle of the city too, and like you have these randomers that's over looking to see what's going on, and they get captivated by it as well.
It's almost been a good few years since I managed to make it into a square. Now the sign-on room inside the post office, but yeah, it is. It's always very, very cold there too when you go in there. It's always cold in Ayr Square, but it is, and it's a great way for, I suppose, and you obviously a lot of families and a lot of kids in there just to see what's going on. And I think it's a ceremonial starting was probably in Galway before it was anywhere else really for a long, long time, and then kind of went off the radar around the country for lots of places. Now it's a big thing again. The ceremonial starts. It's a great thing, and it brings the rally to people. Yeah, and they see what's going on. They see the cars. The kids get excited. They want to see a bit more of it to get out on the stages, and I think it's fantastic. And it's I suppose the timetable I have here for it really is just to give a rundown on it. It's scrutiny is kind of from 1 to 6 in the race course in Galway on Friday, and then you had the ceremonial start at 7:30 p.m. in Ayr Square. The Park Farm overnight is in Galway Racecourse, and service for the weekend will be at Galway Airport near Carnmore, and it is open to the public, but it's pedestrian only, so you can only walk in because obviously it's just awkward to get cars in and out of there. So, but there should be parking around it anyway. But it is it's a fantastic facility to have, and again, I suppose the club would like to thank the council and Galway Flying Club for facilitating that as well. It's a really fine facility to have. So the stages in our 8 stages in the Headford area on Saturday, and that night then they're back to the race course in Galway, and then Sunday the stages are in Monte direction, and again like that there's service in the airport again, and it finished in comes back to the Connacht Hotel at 4:30 or thereabouts on the Sunday evening. So it's an early starter, right, for anybody who likes their Lions. Both mornings. I think the first stage is first stage on Friday, or sorry, first stage on Saturday is 8:51, and the first stage on Sunday is 8:52. So yeah, prior to 9 o'clock. Yeah,
Yes.
So early bird, but it's an early finish both days. It's it's the last stage is running at 14:36 to 20 to 3 or whatever on Sunday, and on Saturday the last stage is at around 3:45 thereabouts. So yeah, it's sociable from that individual early start, but also early finish.
Yeah, and I suppose at this time of the year, that's probably better because whatever chance you have of light, you better light in the morning, and then you don't want it getting dark, in the evenings either too. It's giving everybody a fair chance at the stages. You don't want the later runners running into dusk and nighttime stages.
Yeah. Yeah, and obviously as well, you have to finish your, because you don't have a permit to run the rally in night time, you have to have your rally kind of before sunset and all that kind of stuff. So that's all factored in as well. But yeah, I think they'll be getting the best part of the day anyway, and even start. It's always good to get it started early. There's no hanging around and just it's nice to have that. Yeah, I think so.
And the Connacht Hotel has been very good to you now over the last couple of years now as well too, and has been a strong supporter of the event, and Corraboyle as well.
Yeah, well, Corraboyle have been brilliant as well because they've been there 7 years now, I think, as main sponsors. They're proactive as well. They're great to get involved. They're great to they know what they want, and they work with the club and getting to what both parties want. And likewise, the Connacht Hotel is absolutely fantastic facility. It's a really fine hotel. It's probably as nice a hotel as you'll find anywhere for a headquarters anywhere. It really is top class, and the staff couldn't do enough for you there. Like they really are. They're really big into the whole idea of the rally, and they even said it on the night of the launch that it is one of their big weekends of the year now, regardless of everything else that's on. It is, I suppose when they went into it first, they weren't quite sure what to expect from it.
Yeah.
And they did say it is a bit hectic, as they said, but they like it, they enjoy it, they're happy for the rally to be there, and yeah, they're very, very supportive. And that's all you can ask for.
Yeah, and yes, it's a bank holiday weekend, but we keep saying about it, but what a rally can bring to the wider community, the hotels are full, the restaurants are full, the pubs are getting a turnout of it, it trickles out, petrol stations to get a few extra bodies going through, hot food counters. Like rallying brings such an uplift to the local area for that weekend.
It does. I mean, obviously, Loughrea got it last year. Loughrea will get a little bit of it this year because of accommodation. Now, this year it's time for Headford and I suppose Monte and Athenry and Clare Galway and all these places, Tuam, they'll all get the benefit of it this year as well. But even you're saying Cork will get benefit out of it as well. There's going to be B&B is going to be required everywhere. So, it's just the nature of it. Even already programs as well, like Corraboyle just tend to distribute about half the programs at their own places. They should probably see it in the outlets, but even already they're being sold out. There's a serious demand in programs this year. So I actually don't know how many were published, but are printed. But all I know is there's a massive demand out there for programs at the moment, and that's a good sign. That shows an interest. For a long time, a program was the sort of thing that only a few would have got. But I've noticed in a lot of rallies in the last couple of years, if you don't really get a program by Saturday morning, you're probably not going to get one for any event in the country. Just the way it's gone. And it's good. It's revenue for the club that way as well. It helps, go towards the costs of running the event and everything else. So it's great to have that kind of support as well from people buying the programs,
Yeah, and then we also, we always say, a rally can't run without, people on the marshals out there helping out. They are vital to make this happen. And I'm sure you're the same as every other club around the country. You can never have enough marshals. Yeah,
for sure. It's always good to have marshals. You better have too many than too little. And Patsy Finnerty's in the hot seat again this year for Chief Marshal, so his number is 087 287 0702. So that's 087 287 0702 for anybody who wants to offer help or volunteer help for the weekend. It's much appreciated, and as I said, without marshals we can't rally. So your support is much appreciated. I suppose any other bits and pieces. I suppose in terms of coverage, McBracken is covering the event, live streaming the ceremony to start. And there'll be a YouTube program, and there will be a television program afterwards as well in the coming weeks. Galway Bay FM will have live updates as well on the rally over the weekend. And Killian and Neil be there with on the pace notice but after each stage. So I think the event is going to be pretty well covered from all angles, I think, this weekend. So yeah, so it should be good.
So thanks there to Kevin O'Driscoll, and he just wanted me to mention as well, for just to thank the residents along the route. They have been so open and helpful to make this rally happen, and to remember everybody then just to keep the race in its place this weekend. I also got a chance to catch up with Declan Casey, and you know what Declan's like with his historic, so we thought we'd catch up with all things historic. Declan, we're on the countdown now to the Galway Rally starting at the weekend. Once again, the historics have pulled it out of the bag. 19 entries. This championship keeps getting better and better.
Yeah, we're on 19 at the moment. I haven't checked it now recently to see if there's any withdrawals, but the historics are normally fairly good to turn up, in fairness to them. Up from 16 last year, so we're up 3. So very happy with that.
And like, you know, every round that the entries that the historics is getting, it holds really well throughout the year. There's some rallies there could be 2 or 3 more or 2 or 3 less, but in general it's always holding up around about the 15 to 20 mark.
Yeah, we seem to have a good squad of fellas that are after registering since Killarney, and it's always a great sign to see crews registering because it shows their commitment to the championship for the year. So we have a lot of regular faces now in Galway. And there's a lot of people aiming for West Cork as well, because West Cork is 2 full days for the historic this year, because they're recently after changing to a 3-day rally. So West Cork is going to be, I'd say, West Cork will be as big as we've seen it in a long time, because West Cork would be very, very popular with the historics, especially the Welsh crews coming over. They seem to like West Cork a lot more than coming to Galway, you know. So it'll be interesting to see how many actually turn up in West Cork, and hopefully they'll all get a run, you know. We might have an issue with numbers, but we're trying to work it out. But yeah, onwards and upwards.
Yeah, because I suppose for West Cork it's probably handy for the boat for them, and there always has been historically a real good Welsh connection to West Cork right before it was ever around to the Tarmac Championship as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's just one of them. It's just one of them rallies that has always and ever been very well supported by the Welsh crews, you know, and the English crews as well, of course. And seems to be growing now again recently. You know, we've had a couple of new Welsh crews last year who seem to like what's going on over here, and it'll be West Cork again now before we'll see them.
Yeah, but you have to say, the championship is so well supported. Yes, with our own local crews, but it's one of the few championships that has attracting crews to come from across the water this way. Which is great to see. It has, that has to be applauded.
Yeah, I suppose there's not an awful lot of tarmac rallies in the UK for the historic boys, and sure, what we have on offer here is top shelf stuff. You know what I mean? I mean, you can pick any round of the Tarmac Championship, and every one of them is fantastic. Do you know what I mean? You couldn't pick a bad one. They're all super. And it is like you'd be talking to Duncan there and Alan Watkins. Once you come over and you experience that, and you see the crack and the camaraderie around the whole event, everybody is really trying to get everybody else to the finish, and the social side of it, and the bit of crack at night, and the whole thing is just fantastic. And once you come over, it's hard to not come over again the following time. Do you know what I mean? So that's what's happening. You see, the word is spreading, and they're bringing their friends with them, and then the friends are saying, "Jesus, I'll go back there again," and he'll bring another fella with him the following year, and it's just growing and growing, which is fantastic, and hopefully it continues.
Yeah, because that makes that's better, good for everybody. That's driving more rooms, hotel rooms, better, everything gets value out of this as well too. Yes, the rally benefits from it, but the wider community benefits from it as well.
Absolutely, yeah. It's nearly gone to the point now that you'd nearly want to sit down at the start of the year and you'd want to be deciding what events you're going to do, and you'd almost want to be booking your accommodation almost straight away if you haven't booked it from the last time you were there. I'm Duncan again. I mentioned him earlier. He said to me, West Cork. Before I check out in West Cork, he said, I'm booking again for the following year because there's no doubt I'll be back. Do you know what I mean? And if I leave it go, I'll forget, and then when I go about it, it'll be gone. So if you want to stay in the hotel, you need to book it a year before, like.
Yeah.
So that's just tells you like the demand for the good accommodations. You know what I mean? Now everyone will always be looked after, and Anthony O'Sullivan there, who's a good friend of mine. Anthony is from Clan, and he gets all the guys with the holiday homes, the summer holiday homes, to get them ready for the weekend of the rally. Like, so he looks after a lot of the historic crews. So everyone will always be looked after. It's just how far away you are from the headquarters, but it doesn't really matter. Do you know what I mean? Because we'd all kind of move around anyway, and it doesn't matter where you're staying as long as you're close.
For sure. And like Galway this year too, it's looking very positive. Like, the weather we never know because like Galway's Galway, but like 19 entries, and like there supposed to be real good stages this year. They're using ones out Headford, Montefiore direction, sort of a wee bit different from maybe Galway of the last few years, and a change of scenery is always good for everybody.
Yeah, the Saturday is all based up around Headford, 3 stages. After having a look at them there now, there's some very, very fast stuff, very committed stuff over a lot of jumps and crests, very fast jumps and crests. There's a bit of blind stuff, brave stuff. It'll all depend on the surface on the day, I suppose, how much a fella is going to commit. But yes, slightly different from last year. We done the recce last year, but we had to pull out at the last minute because my driver had a medical injury. But the Sunday then, there's only 2 stages on the Sunday, and I actually did one of them in 2019, Colemanstown, with Hugh, who I'm sitting with this year again. And that stage really turned into a very mucky affair. As the day went on, the top cars were cutting it ferociously, nearly full car in places, and they were dragging out huge amounts of mud onto the road for us. And then the second pass through, it was very, very, very muddy and slushy and not nice conditions, But like you said, it'll all depend on how the weather is between now and the weekend. But there's definitely a possibility that they're going to get very muddy again with the cuts.
Yeah, because these are 5 cars. They are, the level of commitment that these guys are putting in now. That the cut was only something you ever seen maybe in the WRC, and then it filtered into the BRC, and we're getting it more and more here now as well.
Yeah, they're on a completely different pace to us, like, so. They're trying to straight line everything as much as possible, and try and keep the car going as fast forward as they can. And to do that, of course, you have to take the chance of making the cuts. And the drawback for us then is when they do that, they're pulling mud out onto the road. The next couple of cars then are running squashy around the place, and then by the time we get onto it, it's a very slippery surface that we're coming into, The only hope is that a lot of the historics might be grouped together and that we all kind of get the same conditions. But we have Duncan there now, I think, is the first one on the road at 57. And then there's 5 or 6 of them together. And then there's a jump of about 10 for the next kind of a middle group. And then there's another jump again, and there's cars from 100 to about 107 or 8, I think. So, like, there's going to be 50 cars after Duncan before the last of the historics get through, So we'll see how the receding and stuff works out, but you're going to have a completely different road after 50 cars than you are after 100 cars, So all that has to be taken into account. But weather related, the weather will play a big part, like.
Yeah, and like because even at this point, like we're on the Monday before the event, like long range forecast is great and all that there, but you never know until you pull back the blinds on that morning of the rally what the weather's going to do.
Not at all, no. As we saw in Killarney, the top 20 historic cars headed out to the stage on a dry choice of tyre, and we were all sitting on the start line, and we couldn't get out of the car because the shower was so heavy, I think Donagh Kelly was the only one that had any even relation of a wet tyre on the Beamer, and it showed straight away on his time was fantastic on the first stage, I think he was 15 seconds faster than anybody else. But like you said, the tyre choice is going to be very important in Galway, and the conditions, you'd nearly want to have somebody out there to give you a clue as to what the conditions are. Do you know what I mean? And that doesn't really exist in historic rallying. Like, we're kind of looking at Killian's videos and seeing what the top boys are saying about the road and what it's like, and we might have a chance to make a decision before we leave service. You know. But you take every bit of information you can get and try and get the third choice as optimum as you can.
Yeah, and there's a wee bit of a changing of the guard almost in the historics at the moment as well. Like, for the last few years, Mark II has been the car of choice. The M3 is starting to creep in there now.
The M3 is starting to become a little pain in the side now. Yeah, I think Trevor Wilson has one for Galway. John O'Donnell has one for Galway. Will Graham has one for Galway, and I can't think of the fourth one now. Who's the fourth one, Kevin? Help me out here.
Yeah, now you're asking me. It's gone out of my head as well. It's a guy from a wee bit further back the field too, isn't it, as well? And I can't think his name. But yeah, the fact that there's going to be four of them, we've seen in Killarney and we've seen in other events. Of the
they're very strong. They're very strong, but I mean they're a lot more modern as well, comparing them to a Mark II. So like you've your power steering as standard, and you have the gearbox, the running gear, everything. Everything is just so much more modern, you know. But again, you have to play with the conditions as well. Like if the conditions get very messy in Galway, an M3 with lots of power could be a bit of a handful, you know. But sure, look, that's progress. We can't stop progress. So if anyone's looking for a co-driver, that's for an M3. I'm available next year.
And as we're heading into round one, what is your hope for this year of the championship? It's come, 2023 was a fantastic year for the historics. Onwards and upwards.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Onwards and upwards, yeah. If we what we are hoping for is that you would have maybe 5 or 6 cars fighting for the overall. Do you know what I mean? If we could get into that position, you're going to have a fantastic year. Do you know what I mean? So we had good start there now in Killarney. Good few points on the board. So Galway now is a kind of a finishers rally. Really, you need to keep our head screwed on and get around nice and safely and try and bag a few points. And then when you get to West Cork, you can go again. And West Cork is usually, it might be damp, but it's usually plenty grip and a lot easier to carry speed and stuff. Then we leave West Cork and we're going to Killarney. Killarney would be similar enough.
Yeah, the circuit before that as well too, haven't you?
Beautiful. Sorry?
You have the Circuit Ireland before Killarney.
Circuit of Ireland, yeah.
And that's on the new base this year as well too.
That's right.
Dungannon this year, I think, direction, aren't you? So
that's right. And then you have Killarney, which again would be good, beautiful stages and very fast rally. And then of course you've Donegal. And then we have the Ulster and Cork 20 to finish. Cork 20, I think, is only one day this year.
Yeah.
But like every single one of them, like you're counting down the days. Do you know what I mean? But we'll see now after Galway how things are shaping up. We'll see who's coming to the fore and who's registered, because you can register in Killarney, you can register in Galway as your first event, and I'd say you could even register in West Cork, and you could still fit in enough rallies to get in your 6 out of 8. You know what I mean? So there's plenty opportunity for people to join in if they're not after joining in Galway. You know.
Yeah. And
you can start your championship in West Cork if you want.
Yeah, because I remember we spoke last year and you said that, there was so much interest from guys coming out of like modified and even out of some of the modern stuff. And we're seeing that coming through, like John O'Donnell's there, coming up this weekend. And
that's right.
John's been in the Mark II, he's been in the R5 car, and he's like, I think he'd be very worth watching this weekend. Trevor Wilson has moved out, from the Porsche Stroke Mark II into an M3 as well. So there's lots of variables this weekend as well too. So there's, I think, as you say, finishers rally, but you can't just tittle about either. You need to be going hard too.
No. There's too many quick fellas now. You see, we're the victim of our own success. You've the 2-liter BDG guys, you've the M3s, you've the Chevette. Do you know, all these guys are not slow, and you'll see I think the best way to see the speed of the historics is when the reseeding takes place on Saturday night, and you see where they're put on the road on the Sunday. I think we were looking at it during the week. I think Marion Evans, who won the historics last year, I think he was 36th overall after the first stage last year on the Saturday. And then he continued over the weekend. He had a fantastic rally. I think he finished about 30th overall in the entire rally. First historic car home. But this year then he seeded 58. So you'd expect him again, like from 58 to climb. I know there's a lot more R5 cars this year. There's probably 10 more maybe. But you'd still expect him to be starting Sunday morning in the 50s or maybe the high 40s.
Mm-hmm.
Just to give an indication of the pace that the historics are at. Like, it really has grown. The speed has really grown in the last 2 or 3 years, and the gaps between the top crews are getting smaller. And with the 4 M3s now into the mix as well, it's going to be fantastic to see where they all slot in and see how they get on and how many of these guys are registered. But there is a lot of crews registered at the moment, so we'll be hoping that they'll stay with the championship for as long as possible during the year.
So thanks very much to Declan, and we're ready for Galway. Will we make any predictions? Is anybody brave enough? Connor, maybe throw it at you first.
Oh God. I don't think I could call it. I genuinely, I look everything from Callum looks like a favourite, but again, struggled in Galway, but that was more the car last year. Josh kind of getting top of the C3 that quickly. Will Max, be on the ball, and Keith, complete unknown. So I don't know. I'm gonna struggle here. I am struggling.
Look,
well, I'm going to play the same caveat that I did when we did the WRC review podcast a few weeks ago with Bex Williams, and you haven't asked me prediction for what specifically, Kevin. So I'm going to say that
who's going to win the Galway Rally?
Damn it! To be interesting, because I think it would be a result that would really put the cat amongst pigeons. I'm going to say Matt Edwards.
I suppose I need to say something too. I just think the fact that Callum has come in with the same setup and all from last year, I think it may just give him a wee advantage on early doors, and if he can hold that then through to the finish, that's where I'm going to go. So Connor, you're not going to put any name in the hat?
Oh, I'm going to go Keith.
Right, just to be different.
Just to be different.
Yeah.
One thing we do know, it won't be last year's winner. We can say that confidently.
Yeah. That was your caveat, wasn't it? Yeah.
It was, yeah. We've got a new winner this year, everyone. A different one.
So that was season 3, episode 6. Like to thank Luke for coming on as a special co-host tonight as well. And can you please, we see the difference the likes and the shares make and all that, so if you can continue to do that, that's really much appreciated. And if you can subscribe to the channel as well too, makes a massive difference. So until next time, take care, speak soon, and bye.